We got a lot of news to cover. Let's put the games aside, jump to the news.
Sounds good.
Now, guys, I'm sure this first piece of news is not going to be of surprise to any person, which is that the application window for the first round of general applicants for cannabis business applications in Minnesota has now come to a close. Officially. Hooray! Yay, yay, yay. As we were talking about at the beginning, that has now officially come to an end, but holy shit, were there some bumps along the way. Should we talk about them?
February 18th to March 14th.
Yep.
It was a busy time.
Yeah, so you had a decent amount of time to get your application turned in. I want to start by saying we advised people. The episode that came out 4 days before the window closed, we recorded a full week before the window was set to close, telling people, don't wait until the last minute. The website will crash. Go back, play the episode. Jordan, clip it right here. Put that in where I said it's going to crash. I'm just kidding. You don't have to do that. But go back and watch that episode because as we discussed, OCM fumbles sometimes, as government does sometimes. And as we saw, that ball was dropped hard. So 9 p.m., you go on the website. It's Friday night. You're like, man, I got 2.5 hours left. I'm good.
Yeah.
Website is down. It had crashed entirely by 9 p.m. According to the officials with Acela, which is the company that they were with.
Yeah.
It basically just required some additional maintenance.
Right.
And it was down until 4 a.m. on Saturday morning.
It seems unavoidable. I mean, it seems avoidable for the system maintenance, but I can understand the volume being unpredictable.
Absolutely. And let's be real. Shout out to the cannabis community. We love you guys. We don't mean any hate by this, but probably too many people waited until 11 p.m. to be turning in an application for a business license. Like, all that set aside, though, we saw the website go down. And you know, OCM, it would have been great if they said, oh, well, we'll just extend it through to the end of Saturday. We'll give it a full day extension. You're all set to go. And that's initially what they did announce.
Okay.
But then the company that helps host the website came out and said, oh, actually, we scheduled maintenance from 9 to 11 p.m.
Yeah.
The day after the application was supposed to close because, you know, it's closed.
So first it crashed.
Yep.
On Friday.
Yep.
Then the maintenance was scheduled on Saturday.
Yep.
Which makes sense. You would schedule maintenance after a busy period.
Can't blame them.
Right?
Because they weren't expecting that the website would crash and that OCM would then extend the deadline past into the window when they had already scheduled to be doing this maintenance. So OCM looked at this and went, shit, I guess we're going to extend it again. And it was extended until noon on Sunday.
Sunday.
Oh, yeah. A full, 36 hours past the initial deadline, you could have been turning in your application because OCM's website just couldn't stay up, couldn't stay open.
Yeah. Yeah. I have so many thoughts like expect the unexpected.
Yep.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. If you were a business owner who waited until 11 p.m., the night that your application is due, why? Write into the show. We'd love to hear from you. Because
no, actually leave a really long Facebook post.
Yeah, please do that instead on your personal and business account page and all that. And yeah, no, it was really a showing of the professionalism of the industry at times.
Right.
And the not at other times. I saw a comment of someone who posted on Reddit, which shout out Trees.
What a great place.
Yeah. Who posted on Sunday, we are petitioning OCM to extend their deadline. Like, why, dude, if you don't have your application ready by Sunday morning, which is a full 2 days after the deadline was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Maybe this wasn't for you, dog.
You know, it is a little bit of a, you know, because cannabis consumption may help you think differently.
Yeah.
So it does contribute to different ways of thought.
Yeah, there's a old school Simpsons episode where Fish plays at a rally to try to get people to vote, you know, reform the marijuana law. And they're like, go vote in the election. And then someone goes, the election was yesterday, guys. And they're like, oh, shit. And this felt sort of like, come on, guys, we're better than that. But alas, here we are. And we have people still that are working on those applications, I imagine.
And, you know, now the application window has closed.
Yep.
There's are there any open application opportunities right now?
No. So there will be again at some point. We expect in about 18 months, they'll probably open that window back up.
Yeah.
But for right now, this is sort of the pool of who we have for the first year and a half of what our industry looks like.
Wow. And how many applicants were reported?
Yeah. So we had a really fun mix. We had about 2,000 additional applicants come in during this general application round.
Okay.
So we had a large chunk that came in during social equity. I think people were looking at that and saying, wow, we're going to have 5, 10, 15 times as many applicants. Not really.
Okay.
Yeah, I think most of the people that were looking to really try to gamify that system probably did it during the social equity round anyways. And so what we had here was a lot of people applying for micro business licenses and then a few people applying for other capped licenses.
Okay.
We expect that lottery to happen in that wonderful month of May, June that OCM keeps telling us about.
You know what I heard? I heard that the legislative session might go long this year.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we might need to add another month to this May, June.
Yeah. The legislature, which we will be talking about a little bit later, has been really interesting recently. Not just around cannabis, but generally. And if you're getting messages from someone who claims to be a state senator, like maybe don't chat them online. But
unless they want to come on the show.
Yeah. So May, June is when we expect those applications to get reviewed, those capped lotteries to really happen. But for people that are applying in the uncapped categories, especially the social equity applicants that already were approved during that pre-approval round, they'll probably get an email in the next couple of weeks, if not already.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think is pretty exciting.
First phase of general adult use.
Yep.
Without excluding social equity.
Exactly. Yep. So we had some social equity applicants that have been showing that they've gotten emails from OCM telling them they can move on to the next steps. We don't know exactly how many of those emails have gone out to who exactly, but based upon what we're hearing through the grapevine, shout out Bridget at Grounded Gardens.
Yeah.
People are probably getting their emails as we speak, letting them know, hey, you're good to go. Because just to remind people again, that first round, pre-approval, they had to wait for all of the applications to be reviewed before they could let people know on decisions. This, as soon as one of those uncapped applications is approved, they're good to keep moving forward. So we could have people within the next couple of days, weeks, however long, be getting those emails. Hopefully very soon. I'm excited for stores to open. I am curious where all the product is going to come from, but that's why we're going to get those licenses out, get that starting to grow, and get those doors opened. When do you guys? We've tried to draw that line in the sand of like 4th of July is when we hope to have that. Let's sort of revisit that. Do we still think it's now the end of March? Applications have closed. Do we think we're going to have dispensaries by July? And let's throw the big asterisk on here of not tribal-owned dispensaries.
We had somebody from the OCM on last week to talk about their experience in the cannabis industry. And, having followed up with Jess just today on the social medias, the OCM is looking at how they serve all three interests from a general applicant standpoint, including social equity, from a medical cannabis perspective, from a tribal cannabis perspective. And if we think about the word dispensary and how it's changed names and how it's changed meaning over the last, however long we've known each other.
Absolutely.
The problem is what is going to be sold in July or August or September.
Yeah.
And we need to, it's hard. We need to leave room for hemp, but we need to leave room for hemp businesses to also be unique and not just to be gobbled up by adult use dispensaries, because then you take away the opportunity for the hemp shops to really have clientele and be able to offer unique products. So that's really what I'm worried about, is like where they draw the lines and what products can be sold. And Minnesota is just so unique. We have to remember we're in this interesting market where hemp-derived edibles have become the norm. And if we bump up caps on hemp-derived edibles, and we saw that right away when medical companies started to adopt the ability to sell CBD products. For sure. So truth be told, my my viewpoint is they'll open as soon as they can, but the product won't be that differentiated.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. I think it's a really fair assessment. Jordan, are you looking forward to a 4th of July weed pickup, or think maybe you'll be smoking from the usual guy?
I think historically I've said after. I'm going to stick on that one.
That's fair.
And my answer is much shorter.
There we go.
After.
I think we'll have, I think probably by end of August, but who knows?
Yeah, I like
see.
that. I like that.
Yeah.
Can't wait for August.
Yeah. Me neither. I'm excited to be able to no longer talk about business applications for cannabis licenses, at least with the big asterisk of, probably people will get notices of things they need to change, but hopefully this is the last big round, everyone watching the screen, website crashing, all that stuff, because next time people are applying for licenses, the businesses will be open. Like it won't be a brand new thing. It will just be become a new normal. So hopefully we get closer to that sooner rather than later.
Not to be a pest, but I really hope they live stream the lottery.
Yeah. I think they will.
And then we should watch it at Dabbler Depot Seed and Sesh.
That could be pretty fun.
Or we just do our own Twitch stream of our stream of us streaming
Ooh, okay.
their stream.
That's why the OCM doesn't like us.
Yeah. What if we did like like Twitch plays Pokemon, where they get to choose the buttons by voting democratically? What if we had like Twitch chooses cannabis business licenses, and like the viewers on this stream get to go through and vote on? All right. Well, so that wasn't the only news that happened from this past week. We also had some other big stuff that happened, not out of the legislature, which we'll be talking about in a minute, not out of the executive branch and the applications, but out of our courts. Now, we don't often think about in our conversation in this podcast cannabis as a criminal justice issue, because a lot of our conversations have sort of shifted to focusing on the business side of it. But of course, it remains a criminal justice issue. Marcus's conversation he's going to be having shortly here highlights that very fact. But we saw that legal-ish remains ish this week. By having a follow-up on a case that we talked about actually like a year and a half, almost 2 years ago now, episode 12, way back in the day.
I kind of remember you talking about this.
Oh, yeah, audio only. Now, days after legalization happened, we had Todd Thompson, a 54-year-old White Earth Band of Chippewa member, arrested for selling, allegedly, cannabis and plants out of his tobacco store. He had concentrates, he had flour, and he was selling it, advertising it as adult use product, saying, it's legal today. What's going to happen?
Bold move.
Yeah, bold move, Cotton. And exactly what happened was the police came in and they seized 7.5 pounds of cannabis and just under a pound of cannabis concentrate. Don't worry, guys. It was all mids anyways, though, so it's all fine.
He argued the state lacks the jurisdiction to prosecute him.
He did. He said, because of the way that tribal law is interpreted in Minnesota, they can impose criminal actions for criminal activity, and they can impose civil fines for civil activity, but they're not allowed to impose criminal fines for civil behavior. Like if someone was going to get like a citation or something for something, it couldn't be the state coming in and enforcing it within tribal jurisdiction. And so what was argued here by Thompson is that because people can legally sell cannabis with a license, I can legally sell cannabis without a license because it's just a civil difference, not criminal. And this was the courts firmly saying, no, actually, this is criminal.
It's clearly criminal.
Yeah, it's pretty clearly criminal. So go back and listen to...
They seized 7.5 pounds.
Yep.
And just under a pound, which is about 16 ounces.
Yep.
Of concentrates.
And so we saw that motion filed, and earlier this week we saw that motion denied. So
there hasn't been a sentence at this point, has there?
No, not yet. No, as of right now, it continues to be sort of this churning of our judicial system of motions being filing, things focusing on the motion, then going back to the original, and then new motions. And so this is still that original charge from August 2nd of 2023 working its way through the system.
I spoke to friend of the show, Jordan from Red Lake Nation this week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Having just kind of dovetailing, not with the respect to this case. And, he explained that, because there are some dispensaries open on reservation land in Red Lake. And it's kind of a touchy subject where it's like they're not licensed through the nation yet.
Yeah.
But what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to get their paperwork through the nation. And that's how they'll allow other dispensaries to operate on reservation land that aren't owned by the tribe. And so this guy, talk about being early. He was trying to stake his claim,
Oh yes, he was, absolutely.
And he went for it. But it doesn't sound like it's going to work out for him. It doesn't matter where you are in Minnesota. If you don't have a license, it won't work out long term.
Yeah, not a good idea. Now, here's another question. Do you think this guy will get sentenced before we have dispensaries openly selling flower? I don't know, because I think by August we're going to be having stores open.
Yeah.
Will this guy be sentenced by August? Maybe. We'll see.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. This is why people tune into Northern Lights, so you can follow along and have this whole timeline in your head.
We're the #1 Todd Thompson podcast in Minnesota.
And Todd, don't you start a new podcast, otherwise we're going to not be able to say that anymore. Today's episode is brought to you, we should say, by Todd Thompson.
Yeah, thank you so much, Todd.
Yeah, thank you, Todd. All right. Well, we do have one other news story that we want to talk about. We talked about the executive branch. We talked about the judicial branch. Let's jump into the legislative branch.
You're getting your shit off today,
I know.
man.
I love it. Now, we had a lot of activity in the past week in the legislature. Now, this technically happened right before our last recording. We didn't get a chance to talk about it in the last episode, so we're throwing it in here because it is, I think, really worthwhile talking about. Now, we've had a number of bills working their way through the legislature. A lot of them have been pretty minor changes. One of them would add the Office of Cannabis Management as an agency that is allowed to deal government to government with tribal governments. Because technically, as of right now, OCM has to work with the governor, who then works with the tribal government, who then works with the governor, who works with OCM. This would just sort of clean that up. It's all the same government with walls and OCM anyway, so this should just make it cleaner. And you'd think it'd be sort of an easy conversation, but alas, it had a pretty exciting hearing.
Right. It needs to be passed.
Yeah.
This change needs to be passed.
Yeah, it's pretty minor. There's a couple other technical changes, times where they maybe said like customer and it actually should say a totally different word, or just like, things that are similar but wrong. This was going to be something that was just missed and a minor update, but the Republicans who were on the conference committee use this as an opportunity to really talk about some of the bigger issues they're having with what OCM is doing.
Yeah.
Generally.
Mark Corin is the representative in this story.
Oh, yeah. Now, we had him introduce an amendment to this bill as it was making its way.
Senator.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Working its way through committee. And this would have done a couple things. First, it would have added the Speaker of the House to the negotiating team, which let's sort of do our math in our head right here. That is right now a Republican, I believe. Requires the state taxes be collected on off-reservation sales, which I believe as of right now, the draft version says it doesn't have to be. It would demand that compacts be posted publicly for public comment 30 days before signing, which they don't currently have to be. And it would prevent the governor from, quote, surrendering state regulatory sovereignty over off-reservation cannabis stores. So in essence, tribes wouldn't be able to regulate dispensaries that are off-reservation lands. It would have to be just OCM, which, as the compact looked like it right me written, might sort of give some of that to the tribal governments.
Yeah.
And this turned into a pretty big discussion.
Yeah.
Did it end up passing? No, but let's jump into the discussion itself.
All right.
Now, we've been seeing this compact language be continued to be adopted. You and Clem talked about it a little bit on last week's episode. We heard Clem talk about it in the Star Tribune in an article that he wrote about. And it's been getting a lot of news.
It's unique in how it's set up, where it would give the tribes quite a bit of independence within the cannabis industry.
Yeah. And we have the GOP pretty unhappy about that in Minnesota, at least in the legislature. So we're seeing amendments like this, and I imagine we'll see amendments like this introduced to other bills in the future, trying to change how that compact process is looking. Because I'll be the first to say it hasn't been a super open process.
Minnesota Cannabis College was not invited to any of those.
No, we weren't. And man, there are a lot of people that post on Instagram. Oh, I just got out of this meeting. I've got a bunch of details I can tell you about the compact. You just got to pay me first, and I'll be your consultant. And I wish that we didn't have so many people trying to do that, because it was just a big open process and everyone knew what was happening. But
Right.
instead, it's sort of been closed doors, and we don't exactly know. Walls said that he's not at all concerned about it, saying that this is just sort of how compacts are made. He said Minnesota does not stand apart in that we honor tribal sovereignty. These are sovereign nations. They have treaty rights. They have historic rights. We've decided to make that clear in how we sign our compacts. And,
Yeah.
clear it is.
Okay.
Now, we've seen a couple other bills introduced into the session. We talked about a number last week. We're just going to fly through a couple more because we got to talk about them.
Hold on, though, because
Yeah.
I made a dig last week. So if Walls is saying these are our first Minnesotans and they're going to be up and running, he's alluding to them being up and running first,
I think so.
which is a little bit different than what Eric Taubel said when he said no one is getting a head start.
Yep.
So it sounds like left hand isn't talking to right hand, which is why this bill is being, the tunnel is being cleared so that the tribes and the OCM can have better communication, because right now it's all happening through the governor's office.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah, we don't have Taubel in the room
he's not in the room.
doing those negotiations.
So he doesn't know who's
necessarily.
getting a head start.
Yeah, we've got OCM representatives that are working with the Walls administration, and I wish that there was just more openness to what that was looking like.
Yeah.
I wish that we just had something that we could hang our hat on of, oh, this is a forward-moving progress. Instead, we have news articles that are posting saying, yeah, we're going to open a dispensary in like 2 weeks.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
Remember that news article saying middle of March, this dispensary is opening?
St. Cloud
It's March 21st.
and Moorhead.
Not open yet.
Neither are open.
No compact signed.
No compacts are signed. Now they're saying now the end of this month, which is by the time folks are hearing this pretty soon.
Okay, yeah. And news seems to drop on Friday afternoon, so.
Oh yeah, for all we know. But the issue is, as we covered with social equity applicants, and as you'll hear on the interview with Marcus, the issue is the social equity applicants were already supposed to be off and running.
Yeah.
And that's one part of that's the OCM side. And then, you can go to a handful of dispensaries right now that are all open on Tuesday. And so, look, it's never going to be perfect, but you'd like it to be more transparent. And that's kind of what that group is arguing for.
Yeah. This is it's been a weird year for me politically, where the two bills that we've talked about that I went, yeah, those actually sort of make sense to me. Both introduced by the GOP.
Right.
And people who have listened to the show for a while know this is no surprise. I'm not a huge fan of their general bills that get introduced, but maybe around cannabis.
Well, it
little bit
shows
more
you
okay.
it shows you this pendulum concept, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
natural in government.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's talk about some other bills that were introduced by Democrats that I like, such as raising the amounts of loans that micro businesses can receive. As of right now, it's capped at $50,000. This would raise it to $75,000 and lower the requirement of public or private funds that you have to bring to that.
Okay.
So positive.
Is this cannabis micro business loans from like grants, or is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, grants.
Yep.
Okay.
State of Minnesota grants. So positive. Then we got House File 2104, which would ban signs outside of dispensaries. I personally would like to have a sign outside a dispensary telling me what's there. And this isn't just banning like the ads that hang in the windows, which like I get, maybe people don't want that. This bans any sign that could be perceived as promoting the sale of cannabis,
Yeah.
which to me is a fucking name of a store.
Yeah,
like
like the Holiday Inn Express.
absolutely. I see that sign and it's sort of selling the idea of a hotel.
Of what you can get at
Yeah.
a Holiday Inn.
Imagine the doobie dabbler and someone coming up and being like, it says the word dab in the name, so we need you to take that down.
Or like every dispensary is a speakeasy.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you drive up past Elk River, you're on your way up north, and you're heading past Malacca Liquor,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a big digital billboard, and it rotates because it's 2025,
Mm-hmm.
and it has different, and a lot of it, the time it says THC sold here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd be really curious to know who's behind this bill, and if they're aware that THC beverages are being advertised on Highway 169.
Yeah. Some of my favorite cannabis advertisements that I see on billboards are for like Higher Love or some of those Michigan dispensaries, because they can ban billboards for Minnesota licensed dispensaries in Minnesota,
Oh no.
but they can't ban billboards for businesses that aren't in Minnesota.
Wow.
And so they have billboards, and they'll continue to be some of the only cannabis billboards around.
Do you get what he's talking about? Like,
Have you ever seen the billboard that says like Higher Love 123 miles that way?
Yeah.
So they don't have a Minnesota business license, so they can't be banned from having billboards for their business.
Yeah, there's no precedent for
that sounds like
Yeah.
the Wisconsin beverage makers who were importing THC and CBD beverages back before what's his name got his shit together and
Mhm.
figured it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the amount of people that I knew who were, I'm going to close down operations and move to Hudson.
I got a PO box in Hudson.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
No. We're
So some other bills, Senate File 2173 would require more factual information in dispensaries, so you guys can know, you got to wait 8 hours after taking an edible before you drive a car. God forbid.
oh gosh.
Yeah.
Facts
Or
only.
Facts only. We got the THC caps coming back hot. We talked about this one last week. We
Not
got it
too
now
hot.
rolling over to the Senate. No, not too hot. We got only 30% for concentrates, 10% for flower, and no infused pre-rolls. Goodbye, cool little hash rolls. And finally, we got Senate File 2371, which would allow the sale of medical companies to tribal medical cannabis patients. We also talked about this one last week, but now we've got that Senate version. Moving
that's
on over.
good. Yeah, that's great. I'm hearing things, I think, generally positive.
Yeah.
I think the OCM is open to hearing all perspectives and, trying to leave room for all. I hope that they don't limit the spectrum of products, but I understand like there's a lot at play here in the Minnesota market.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I'm just curious to see how the OCM regulation ends up shaking out. I think everyone is, we were watching that applications for so long. I'm still waiting for those rules to come out. We
Yeah.
had public comments submitted. They're still looking over the comments.
Aren't they late on that?
They said it would come out by the end of March. So they've got, technically like another week, but
Okay.
man, they are waiting until the deadline. And as we've said before, don't do that. Don't wait till the deadline. Get it in early. And so we would really love to be seeing those rules, especially if people are getting notices saying, hey, we'd love to come, schedule a tour of your business so we can finalize your application. But you don't even know what rules are going to regulate your business. And
Yeah.
so
They don't know what
good
to
luck.
expect when
When-
they're expecting.
yeah, an inspection. I still love, we're some behind the scenes here. So we did that wonderful segment that was what to expect when you're expecting an inspection. Great class, great event. One of my favorite ads that we recorded. And then months later learned from you didn't know what to expect when you're expecting was a famous pregnancy book. You just thought Tanner was really committed to this bit of what to expect when you're inspecting an inspection. And you're like, all right, sure.
I do now.
Yeah, I'm sure you do now. Oh, yeah. But
We'll be right back.
we'll be right back.
70. Did you know that 70% of businesses fail in the first 10 years? And the number one reason they fail is because they run out of cash. Hi, I'm Dave Woodbeck. I'm the managing partner of Dope CFO. At Dope CFO, we help cannabis business owners beat the odds by providing financial leadership. Yes, we handle bookkeeping, accounting, and taxes, just like any accountant. But as one CEO recently told me, the last thing I need is another accountant. I need a partner who can help me achieve financial success. So take the first step towards financial success. Scan the QR code now to start your free self-assessment.
Attention Northern Lights listeners. Whether you're growing cannabis indoors or outdoors, organically or hydroponically, Eco Garden Supply has the tools to help you succeed. From premium organic nutrients to advanced hydro systems, they've got everything you need to cultivate like a pro at home. Head to ecogardensupply.com now or visit them in person at 800 Transfer Road, Suite 3, St. Paul, Minnesota 55114 and elevate your cannabis. Eco Garden Supply, growing supplies for the serious grower. Are you a social equity applicant trying to save money on LED grow lights? Then here's some good news for you. You could get up to 75% off your lighting project, covered entirely by rebates, when you team up with a local nonprofit, Center for Energy and Environment. Since 2000, CEE has provided free energy consulting to Xcel Energy customers throughout Minnesota. Their team of lighting experts will help you get the highest rebates possible and take care of the paperwork so you don't have to. Starting a grow operation can be overwhelming, so take advantage of this free support from CEE. Go to mncee.org/GrowLED to sign up for your free consultation and find out how much you can save with lighting rebates. Again, that's mncee.org/GrowLED. Go get signed up today.